Hello and welcome to the video. My name is Wade Smith, and I am a first or black belt candidate in Isshinryu Karate and Japanese Jiu Jitsu. And I have an extensive background in combat judo, aikido, and about a year and a half training in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu under Rafael Elanger, who is the cousin of Royce Gracie. He's a fifth degree black belt in Gracie Jiu Jitsu now. And I'm going to talk about why, and I'm not just saying this bias toward karate, but the fact of the matter is I've trained in karate and Gracie Jiu Jitsu, and real karate still beats Gracie Jiu Jitsu in a no holds barred fight, which, by the way, MMA is not a no holds barred fight. You now have 30 some odd rules with over 50 total banned moves and variations of moves in MMA. All right, and most of the banned moves come from traditional karate. So the fact that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu seems to win more often than not in MMA is just because the rules have become so biased against karate that you can't even do real karate at all in MMA. The only thing you can do is punch and kick, which any style can punch and kick. But the word karate simply means empty hands. Originally, karate was jiu-jitsu and judo. And then they eventually banned all of the jiu-jitsu and judo moves from karate and only allowed punching and kicking in competition karate. In even full contact karate, you're usually not allowed to use jiu-jitsu and judo moves anymore. So the sport of karate is not the same thing as the combat of karate used to be. So what they have done is they have banned all of the combat karate moves from competition karate and especially from MMA. And I'm going to explain why that matters. Well, you say, well, everybody can learn the same moves anyway. Yes, but a lot of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu moves do not work at all when real karate is allowed. When real karate is allowed, I can punch or kick you in the groin, and there is no way for you to go in the Gracie guard position on the ground and try to bait me into your guard, because in a real fight, I can stomp kick you in the groin and break your pelvis. All right. So that's one banned move, is stomp kick to a ground opponent or any kick to the groin now in MMA. So stomp kick to a grounded opponent pretty much anywhere on their body except the back of their legs is banned in MMA now. All right. A punch to the throat is obviously banned. Any type of eye gouge or biting is banned. The kamae that reaches under the jaw and dislocates the jaw is banned, whether or not you rip the eyeball out with the following strike. The kamae under the jaw that dislocates the opponent's jaw or taps them out instantly is banned. Any type of neck crank, even if it's not a direct neck crank, is banned. That means that the full arm bar is banned, the reverse arm bar is banned. These are karate grappling moves, by the way, that are banned. The full arm bar and the reverse arm bar. Side arm control is banned as a neck crank, even though it doesn't always directly touch the neck or head. That's why you never see these positions in MMA, because they're all indirectly banned under the no neck crank rule. The accolade is banned. Sasha Banks' bank statement is banned. Because it actually works. The disarmor is not banned. It's just really hard to get on somebody that's competent, so it's not banned. Reverse neck breaker is banned. Reverse guillotine is banned. These are all karate submissions, by the way, that I was taught within the first year of karate. Standing backbreaker is banned because it dislocates the other person's jaw, and it's also a type of neck crank in spite of being called the backbreaker. And it doesn't break anything, but it does dislocate the jaw if the other person refuses to tap out. In pure jiu-jitsu, in pure Gracie jiu-jitsu, a standing leg lock of a downed opponent is banned for no apparent reason. I didn't even know that until yesterday when I rewatched Jesse Enkamp's video of him being a white belt in jiu-jitsu, beating a dark green belt in jiu-jitsu, because he's a fourth degree black belt in real karate and knows more submissions than the jiu-jitsu guys. And he proved it and went in the competition and beat the guy just by refusing to play along with Gracie jiu-jitsu. Because Gracie jiu-jitsu only works if you're dumb enough to play along with it. If real striking, such as I said, punching or kicking somebody in the groin was allowed, you would never be able to use your guard and open your guard like a freaking woman whore getting ready to be screwed instead of fighting for real. You would never be able to do that in a real street fight, and you ought to know that. You would get kicked in the groin and you'd get killed. Or they'd turn you around and kick you in the head, or else they would have a buddy or a girlfriend that would kick you in the head while you were laying on the ground trying to wrestle with them. Understand? That's one of the first principles we taught in karate classes. Even though we know how to wrestle on the ground, you never want to go to the ground in a self-defense situation. You will absolutely get killed. So MMA is not a real fight. It's a watered down sport, especially because of banning so many karate moves. And I didn't even list them all. I only listed the ones that were neck cranks. Um, the inside and outside heel hook are banned under the no intentionally injuring your opponent. A sternum kick is banned under no intentionally injuring your opponent. If I kick somebody in the sternum as hard as I can kick, it will give them a heart attack and they will die on the spot. You understand me? That's why you never see that in MMA. They never kick above waist level, or unless they're kicking to the head. And like, I would never kick above sternum level in a real fight, because kicking above sternum level is high risk. You might fall on your ass in a real fight and get beat by a bigger opponent in a ground situation. And regardless of what anybody tells you, Gracie Jiu Jitsu does not work against a bigger opponent. That's why Hoist Gracie could not tap out Dan Severn. He won on points when the time ran out, because he threw strikes and Dan Severn didn't throw strikes. If you remember in the original tournament, you cannot beat a bigger opponent who actually knows what they're doing just because you got a black belt in Gracie Jiu Jitsu. You're not going to do it. That's why they got weight classes now. Because Hoist only won on points. He wouldn't have won if it had been knockout, especially if Dan Severn had been a more experienced striker instead of a pure wrestler. He would have beat the holy hell out of Hoist Gracie if he had just known how to throw a few straight punches and elbows. Because he actually had the superior position most of the fight. I mean, he would have absolutely curb stomped Hoist Gracie had he actually just known how to throw a few punches and elbow strikes. So that was really a fluke that Hoist beat a man that was a few dozen pounds bigger than him on judges' points. But they really didn't even know how to judge MMA back then. But like I said, Dan Severn was not an experienced striker at all. He was a pure Greco-Roman wrestler, and he didn't understand that you had to throw in strikes to beat Hoist. But they tell you at the Gracie United Dojo, and he's the cousin of Hoist Gracie, as Raphael Ellwanger is the fourth or fifth. He's now a fifth degree black belt in Gracie Jiu Jitsu. They'll tell you that it works against bigger opponents, and it only works against a bigger opponent if they are a totally unskilled fighter and have absolutely no idea what they're doing. It does not work against somebody who is an experienced street fighter, and it does not work against a bigger opponent who has any high school or college wrestling experience whatsoever. You're going to get your ass stomped if you try to fight that person using Gracie Jiu Jitsu. That's why in karate, we're taught to fight inside and outside, standing up. We're taught to use standing grappling moves such as wrist locks and ankle locks. We're not going to go to the ground with somebody, God help us, not with a bigger opponent anyway, because that would get you absolutely curb stomped, even if you are a good martial artist. I heard a story, and it's probably true because there's a lot of paper black belts and paper 5th and 6th and 10th degree black belts. They got 10th degree black belts that'll write you a 10th degree black belt certificate just for showing up, just because you paid them to do it. So anyway, it was supposedly, I think, a 6th or 7th degree black belt, and the black belt was at fault for the fight, and he kept harassing a bodybuilder who had no supposed martial arts training. And then he threw a punch at the bodybuilder, and the bodybuilder punched back and broke the black belt's jaw, because he knocked the black belt down and thought the fight was over. And the black belt then tried to leg sweep the bodybuilder, and that did not work on a real bodybuilder in spite of the myth. And the real bodybuilder got pissed off and punched him one more time in the jaw, and it broke his jaw. and it was a 6th or 7th degree black belt that was supposed to know how to fight somebody. And he didn't know what the hell he was doing. He just about got killed by an unskilled fighter. I'm actually upset with some of my old instructors. They were good instructors, but they didn't always teach correct principles either in martial arts. There's a lot of myths in martial arts and stupidity that either doesn't work or it's baseless. And I caught one of my old instructors teaching something in an eskrima stick class, and he does not know what he's talking about, and he's supposedly a 10th degree black belt in eskrima stick fighting, because he started talking about the use of the gladius in the gladius, the double-edged sword in Roman warfare times, and he said that they used to stab more often than slashing because, according to him, a slash would bounce off your ribs and not hurt you as much. Bullshit, Grandmaster. I'm not going to call your name, but bullshit. All right. A Damascus steel sword, especially one as thick and sturdy as a gladius, if you swing it at somebody with a one-hand swing, even just from elbow to wrist, you're going to cut them halfway in half. If you full arm swing at them, it will cut them clean in half. Anybody who's watched Forged in Fire, when Doug Markaya cuts a pig carcass with even a halfway decently forged sword that they make, or knife that they make on the show, it cuts the pig carcass clean in half. It doesn't bounce off the ribs. It cuts straight through any ribs it hits. It cuts straight through the backbone like it's not even there and comes out the other side of the pig all in one motion. And a pig's body is way the heck more sturdy than a human being's body. The ribs and backbone are way bigger on a pig. So he was just making up some bullshit out of his ass, and he was a highly respected. He's in Black Belt magazine, for goodness sake, and he won Congressional Medal of Honor and a Congressional Black Belt award in the military, and he didn't know what he was talking about. And that absolutely pisses me off. That absolutely pisses me off. Completely pisses me off. I went to 4 of his seminars back in the day, 20 to 25 years ago, to almost 30 years ago, rather. So it definitely pisses me off. He's supposed to know better than that. But I am absolutely sick of fake martial arts, including fake martial arts in the mixed martial arts competition. That's no longer real martial arts. A lot of the moves are not even banned for safety reasons. They banned finger locks and toe holds for not because of safety reasons. It tells you in the World Unified Rules, I've read them twice. It tells you that the reason finger locks are banned is not a safety issue, but rather because they want the fights to last longer than 10 seconds. If you could do a front wrist lock grabbing only 3 fingers, that's ideal, and it gives you total control over the other person's body, and then you can knee strike them and kick them over and over again, and they will tap, or the referee will stop the fight for unanswered strikes within about 10 seconds. And that's how we trained in karate class. We wanted to win any self-defense situation in 10 seconds or less. And so it literally tells you in the unified rules that the reason joint lock, small joint manipulation is banned is to artificially extend the fights longer than 10 seconds. So you're right away, you're not only are you not making a safety issue, you are artificially changing the way fight science really works. In real fight science, if 2 experts fight, it's actually over in just a few seconds. One of them will eventually make a mistake, and the other one will capitalize and beat the holy hell out of him within a few seconds. There should not be 5-minute round fights in a championship match. At least it shouldn't go to distance. It's supposed to be over in 10 seconds. That's how real martial arts is supposed to be.